Good evening, everyone. We're here, the Groveland Water and Sewer Commissioners, to hold a public hearing on the rate increase. First off, I'd like to have everyone introduce themselves. To my left. Pat?
Pat Rogers, Office Manager.
Tom Cusick, Superintendent.
Jim Sheehan, Water and Sewer Commissioner.
Jack Willett, Water and Sewer Commissioner.
Rick Danforth, Water and Sewer Commissioner.
The meeting is being held to present and receive comments on water and sewer rates, which are proposed to increase 15% in all areas of water and 2% in all areas of sewer. These rates are planned to go into effect in June 2016, in October billing 1/2016. Are there any comments from the audience? Yes, Mr. Hodges?
Can you hear me from here? Or do you
I
want me to
can-
move up?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
go up there.
Okay. Just three comments, and I'll make this as short as I can. Groveland Water has not always been kind to our family. In the late 70s, we received a knock on the door from Kathy Lenz, who was one of the selectmen at that time. And she said to my wife, "I know you're nursing Tim. Would you please stop drinking water?" I think it was well number one had gone bad. The health department sat on that information for 4 months. I went to see the health department, and instead of asking how Tim was doing, the chairman asked me, "Are you planning on suing?" Now, we're not the suing type, but there are days that I wake up, most of the time with a smile. But there are days when I wake up a little cranky just thinking about it, because his life is very different. He had a minor stroke, developed failure to thrive, which meant he was only making believe he was nursing. And by the time we took him to the hospital, he looked like a third world child. So he's been diagnosed with autism. We now have him in a group home, and he's working on the shared collaborative farm over in Georgetown right now. But Tim never, ever had a shot because of Groveland Water. And by the way, if you do the history of this, there were more learning disabled children born in the late 70s than any other time in Groveland. And I was over in Georgetown, and I talked to a lady whose story is 10 times worse. Her child's been institutionalized since the child was a baby. That's how bad it was. Second thing, I'm thinking if we're trying to think about saving money, why don't we stop pouring fluoride into the municipal water? It's an original component of rat poison. Fluoride is designed to swish around in your mouth and spit out. It's not designed to be ingested. And by the way, 15 years ago, 1 out of 13,000 children, speaking of autism, were diagnosed with autism. I had a social worker about a month ago tell me it's now 1 out of 67. I think you need to rethink the fluoride. In fact, I think the water department would be delighted not to have to do extra stuff like putting in fluoride. And I also, I'm thankful for the apology and the loom that was brought, because the hydrants were opened twice and completely eroded my front yard. First time went down, and it completely wiped out the right rear foundation of my. I had to go to Home Depot. I have a jack, a permanent jack there, and I've rebuilt that. The second time, we got I went down, and this gentleman here was gracious enough to send some guys down, and we spread the loom, and I reseeded and that stuff. But I'll go back to my original statement. The Groveland Water has not been kind to the Hodges family at all. I'm not in favor of these increases. In fact, I would say Groveland Water owes us, not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Anyone else?
I'd like to make some comments as well.
Would you please identify yourself?
My name's Chuck DeShane. I live at 268 Main Street. I'm neighbors with Dick. We're here kind of as neighbors, sticking together through this whole thing with our disgust in the water department and what they're doing with our water and my feelings is lack of things that have been done. The first thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is this is my water filter that I just changed tonight before I came up here. Want to hold on to that, Tom?
I don't need to hold on to it now.
You know what's in it then?
Probably
You don't
some-
want to touch it?
Probably some iron and manganese.
Well, I'm a licensed plumber. I have been for 30 years. I've been changing water filters my whole life. I have a number of customers all around Massachusetts that have this exact same style filter in their house. I get iron and rust in those filters. This is, I don't know what, okay? This is a nasty form of something that comes through our water mains, and we can't even bathe our children without a black ring around our bathtubs. So yeah, I'm totally against the increase in us paying for more added nonsense that goes up here is the way that I see it. And my only other thing that I would like to really get into depth about is with all these increases, I want to know if the work that's being done in town is actually going out to bid, or if we're just paying contractors whatever they want to do these jobs.
Okay, any other questions?
Not unless they arouse in the meeting tonight and me not getting any answers and what we originally came for.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am, would you please come forward and identify yourself?
Janet Nolan, 204 Diane Circle. I have a question about the minimum amount of water and sewer that we pay for.
Yes, ma'am.
What about people that don't even use anywhere near the minimum? Why can't we pay for what we use?
Well, we've looked at this 2 or 3 times since I've been on the water board in the sewer. And this is the best thing that we can come up with right now without saying we're going to do a special for someone that, one person in a house that has minimal, below the minimum. There's got to be a standard of, this is the minimum that it takes to cost to run the water and sewer department. The billing department has
correct.
to be billed, all this stuff is factored into it, okay? And this, believe it or not, these are very good rates that you have in Groveland, okay? Surrounding areas, you'll see all kinds of signs going up. I can start down in Beverly and work my way up to here and go on 97, and I can go through 3 or 4 towns, mandatory water restriction, do not use. They already have them in
We
effect.
don't have that? That never
We don't
happens
have
here?
that. We don't have that.
Water all we want.
You can water all you want. We don't have that, okay? It's because of the operation of the department and the way that it's run and the way that we try to do the best thing what's best for the towns. The water rates are very, very low, very understandable. At the town meeting, we presented documentation on what different areas were around us and what they were paying. And I think we were, correct me if I'm not wrong, we were like third or fourth lowest.
We were pretty much the lowest.
The lowest
In
Okay.
what area?
in the cost of water,
For what general area?
right,
The Merrimack Valley.
Merrimack Valley, okay, all right.
okay? These
So
rates,
we'll never run out of water, is what you're saying? We'll never have no watering allowed?
I'm not committing to that.
Yeah, but why do we have so much water and other towns don't?
Well, we have a really good aquifer here.
Uh-huh.
We're in the Merrimack River Basin, unlike other towns that are in the Parker River Basin. So it's just those communities are in stress basins, or they're purchasing water from somebody else. And Groveland isn't in that situation at this point, so.
we've been very fortunate, very fortunate. There's some areas that, believe it or not, people like to come and get water from relatives or friends that live in Groveland, and they live in other towns, they take our water, okay? Our water's tested weekly, and we do all kinds of preventative testing.
Well, then why are these people telling you otherwise?
Some of them are case-by-case basis. Now, you changed the water main, correct? Do you have any service into your property?
Yes, I live at, oh, you're talking to?
No, it's
no.
not the gentleman behind you, I'm sorry.
That's one of my properties. This is another property.
Where's that located?
I have.
Where is that located?
I own 256 Main Street, I own 258 Main Street, I own 268 Main Street. I can show you those same filters, whether if I have a brand-new main coming into the house or not, has nothing to do with the water, with the pipe. It's the
How
water.
old, what's the time frame in between changing the filter?
These ones here were probably in there a month and a half maybe.
Really?
Cost me $38 every time I change them, and I change them about 6 to 8 times a year.
We're getting off the path, but we
Absolutely.
value your input. I would say,
What our complaint is that we don't wanna pay more for a less quality. If we got so much water, why don't we sell it to some of these other towns? If our water is so great, why aren't they buying it from us, rather than us paying more?
Jack, I would question the quality, because I remember when the EPA came in here and talked about Valley Screw and Chesterton and a lot of stuff that was done out of ignorance, and it wasn't done intentionally, but I haven't had a drink of Groveland water in 37 years. We put in a reverse osmosis unit, had the water tested, it was 249 parts per million of just rotten stuff, dangerous metals, and it was just a long list. As soon as I hooked up the reverse osmosis, I have 4 separate filters that do it. It went down to 1 to 2 parts per million. So we've been drinking pretty pure water. We also had a dog. I know there's cancer all up and down. 3 golden retrievers right there in West Newbury all died of cancer. I mean, you can only guess and guess and guess. But I felt for my family that the safe thing was to put in a reverse osmosis system, because the Groveland water isn't as good as, and the EPA doesn't help me out at all. When I hear the EPA say acceptable amounts of mercury in whatever, I'm not buying that at all. I already have a daughter-in-law this year that died of cancer. So, and where's the health department on any of this? If we go away for a few days and come back, you ought to see what my toilet looks like. Those are chemicals that are doing that. It's not the iron. I know what the iron and the manganese looks like. So I think that's my major contention, and I agree with you. And by the way, I just changed my filters a matter of months ago, and he said, do you want to see what's inside the filter to make a billy goat puke? That's what everybody else is drinking, but that's not what the Hodges are drinking.
okay. I've drank Groveland water since I've been here. Love it,
It's a good immune system.
okay? I have a lousy immune system, really, if I could tell you, Dick. But anyways, the gentleman, I forget your name, I'm sorry.
Chuck.
Chuck, if you would get in contact with Tom in the office, and we can look at issues and address issues, okay? We can't look at something that we can't see, that we don't know about.
Well, I can leave these filters with you. I can give you the test results that I got from AquaPure when I had my water tested, and they told me that if I was to put in a reverse osmosis system, that I wouldn't be able to afford the amount of water that it would backwash through it, trying to keep up with backwashing the system.
Okay, well, I have no
I
idea.
can give you all kinds of results. What I came here tonight to find out was things like, are we looking into things like selling this beautiful water that you're bragging about to other towns that don't have enough water? Topsfield is one that's on the river there, the Topsfield River. They don't have enough water. All these surrounding towns will buy your water if it's so perfect. But the other thing that I want to know is, are these jobs that every time the road is being dug up, is it being subbed out? Are we getting numbers from other contractors, or are we just giving these jobs away?
Okay,
That's what I want to know.
we have been approached from many towns about buying our water. And
So
right,
then let's do that rather than raising our rates.
it's terrific to do it, but Groveland's growing and still growing. And right now, myself personally, I don't feel safe in committing to a 20-year contract with a town to supply them with water, okay? I would rather the citizens of Groveland have the water. And those, we can expand the water system, so that those that do not have the water, we could expand it to there, with betterments and everything, of putting water pipes in. That's personally how I feel, okay? I understand how you feel about, well, let someone else pay another rate and everything. That's all well and good, okay? And gentlemen, ma'am, take it to heart. Thank you very, very much for your input and for your things, and I think we answered your question or not. We have these sheets that after the meeting, they are available. They will tell you exactly what your rate, and if not, then Pat, the manager of the office, she will find out and tell you exactly how much of an increase you will see, okay? And yes, ma'am, please identify yourself.
My name is Cadis Bucari. I'm at Whitestone Village.
Yeah,
And I'm concerned about the rate between residential and commercial, as to why commercial is paying less than residential. Why is that?
Pat?
When they did the tiers, the board thought that, business was pretty stable on what they used, so that's why they did it the way they did. And they are trying to make people conserve water, because most of the people that go in the conservation residential, it's for watering their lawns, sprinklers and such, so we really don't want people to use drinking water to water their lawns. So that's why the rate goes up so high, to try to deter people from using drinking water to water their lawns. Businesses,
Plenty of water.
catch-22.
It's also mandated by DEP.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
we
also,
do.
you know,
We
it's a
have a
suggestion by them to put in some sort of a conservation rate to deter that. You know, you say it's an endless well. Well, that's not the case. I mean, yes, we do have a lot of water. But we're only permitted for a certain amount. So we can meet and go beyond that permit. But as far as, selling to another community or something like that, that's a decision that the board would have to make. Is it a good idea? It might be. It might be a good idea to look at those things and offset some of these costs. If you look at our website, you will find the capital improvement plan along with the rate study. And they go hand in hand. So it's a very comprehensive document that shows and outlines the next 5 to 7 years on capital improvements. So this is just the beginning, if you will, as far as the plan. And that's something that the board collectively has to decide and the people have to vote on. So that's why we're here tonight, is because the people voted for this. This went to town meeting, everybody voted on it, and that was the decision. So that's why you see the 15% increase. I think I'm hearing some valid points. As far as, the history of the EPA site, it's a long history. EPA mandates certain things. That's what I'm governed by. So if you're comfortable with that or not comfortable with that, that's a personal decision. I can stand here today and tell you the water quality that we're producing is to EPA standards. Now, the high iron and manganese, that's purely an aesthetic thing that EPA and DEP are looking at. That comes into a couple different ways that you can deal with that. You can deal with that with full-on treatment, which we're not mandated to do, which means a treatment plant. And if you think this is an increase, you would see a major, major increase if you decided to treat the whole town in that way, and bringing in a filtration plant, basically. Or you can do like you're doing, which is simply put in an inline filter, which basically takes out sediment. Or a high end of that spectrum would be an RO unit, like you're talking about. Or you can find a happy medium and do what most people do with groundwater systems, or if they have their own private well, is they put in water softeners. And that would take care of a lot of that without going to the extreme and the loss of water that you're gonna get with an RO unit, because that's going through resins and whatnot. It's not gonna filter down to that, but that's a personal decision that somebody has to make on what they wanna do in the interior plumbing. So, are you gonna see that excessively in a system that has high iron and manganese? Absolutely, and that's what that is. How do you wanna deal with that? Well, I gave you those options that you can deal with, and that's a personal decision. As far as fluoride, again, that's a community decision. We operate everything to the T and above. I can-
Just wondering why the health department is not.
The health department
is
has-
not a partner in this.
Because
based
it-
on the science of what fluoride, which was an original component of rat poison, that's a scientific fact, and we have it in our water.
Well, we report to the DPH, and the DPH is requesting that you fluoridate your water. Again, that's a personal decision. I'm not saying for the
No,
community to do
I
that.
get that, but even my dentist will tell you that fluoride is to be squished around in your mouth and spit out, never to be ingested.
Oh, there's all kinds of studies that are out there. And in fact, they've decreased the target down to 1 part per million, down to 0.7. So that's where we are now. You know, so if you look at those CCRs, your consumer confidence reports, and I know not many people do, but we put a lot of time in that so everybody has that information. I mean, I operate under total transparency. I mean, I feel like if my customers don't know that information, that's my fault. So I make sure I get everything online. Anytime anybody calls, I try to field those calls the best I can and give you guys that information. But as far as
That's appreciated.
but as far as what a community wants to do, that's a community effort. That's not my decision to make.
Fortunately, my filter filters out fluoride.
Yeah.
But you could get together with the people in town, just like they made us put it in. They went to ballot and the people voted to put fluoride in.
Yes, I actually put it on the ballot and lost by hundreds of votes, but I don't think, there's a lot of people that don't spend time doing their homework. It's what I call low information voters. They could have high IQs, but if you don't know the history of fluoride, and that started being a component of rat poison, and we're letting our kids, we've got IQs that are going down, learning disabilities are soaring, and like I said, we've gone from 1 out of 15,000, well, 15 years ago, 1 out of 13,000 kids with autism, and now it's 1 out of 67. Somebody ought to be asking questions. What are we doing right, and what are we doing wrong? And I've had the water tested. We are not as good. Believe me, the EPA is not my standard at all. They're a bunch of politicians. I think we should be above EPA if we really want to be safe. And for them to say in some of these vaccinations, acceptable amounts of mercury, that's beyond crazy. And that's why I wouldn't trust them for my water either. And I already have a son that's autistic who's been damaged by Groveland water. And Jack, my wife's grandfather smoked Lucky Strike since he was 11 years old and lived to be 103. Do you think that's a good thing? No, and I don't think drinking Groveland water is a good thing. That's why we have a reverse osmosis.
And Dick, that's personal issue, okay, that, like I say, okay?
Well, you've given me good advice, because maybe I need to start with the letter to the editor, and I need to get some of that science out, because we have a ton of low information voters that don't know that we may be damaging our young people and ourselves without even knowing.
You can go online and there's a map that says fluoridated towns, non-fluoridated, and it'll tell you where it's decreasing. It's absolutely decreasing.
Yeah.
People are taking it. I live in
Word's
Amesbury.
getting out.
Yeah, I live in Amesbury, and they voted to not fluoridate the water.
And your office has been very sensitive to my concerns. We've had all kinds of talks about this, but the experiences that my family has had with Groveland water have been, at least with one son, have been tragic. And that's why I don't want to pay more for less.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Whitestone, do you get your own, you have your own meter read, or do you get a community and they divvy it up?
No, they have
Okay.
their individual.
Okay. You use below 1,200 per quarter, I would imagine? Okay. under the new water rate, it would go from 49 up to 50. The new rate would be 58, right? Present is 50. It would be an increase of $7.59 per quarter. Okay, that's all it's going to go for you.
For water.
For water.
Water. Sewer, the minimum would be, present is $52.85. It is going to go to $53.91, an increase of $1.06. If you combine them both, it comes out to a minimum of $8.65 increase per quarter for both water and sewer, if you use below the minimum.
Go up because of it as well, so.
Excuse me?
I said our condo fees will go up as well.
I-
So we're getting, you
We-
know,
we have no
I know you
control
can't
over
do that,
those.
No, but I mean, just for us to think about too, is that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it doesn't just affect our own bill, it also affects our condo fee.
Because of the
Right,
irrigation.
and the taxes are going up every year. and-
Irrigation, well, I don't know about that, they don't do too much.
Yeah.
Well, that, why would they raise it?
Yeah,
if
why
you're
would they
paying the
raise
water
you,
rates
you're
if it isn't
paying
for
it
the irrigation?
yourself.
Because we have a clubhouse and things like that.
Common
Oh,
areas.
common areas, okay,
Gotcha.
okay, yeah.
You know, so.
That's minimal. I don't think that clubhouse uses a
No,
lot of water.
they use probably the
Your
same
your
amount as you
biggest
do.
issue would be irrigation. And I think they looked
They've
at.
cut it down.
Yeah, they've cut it way down, but
They've
they,
cut it way down.
they looked at and weighed the option of a well, of an irrigation well. So that's, you know, that's an upfront capital cost, but it, you know, I think, is Rhonda still managing?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think she looked at those numbers, and I don't know what the discussion was at that point, that was about 8 years ago or so, anyways. But, you know, the rates are very low, I can tell you, in Amesbury, I paid 4 times as much money. North Andover is low, but they have a lot of industry, and they also have a lot of upgrades coming up. So we checked with our consultant on that, but you're right. I mean, but overall, I mean, it's averaging 73, 66. So, and you know, and it works its way down. And again, all this information is right online, so you guys can pull that right up and look at both the plan and this. It's very comprehensive. And,
Yeah, the last time I looked at the quality report was
Mhm.
from 2014.
yep, the 2015 is coming out now.
Okay.
Yep, I just finished it up last week, so it's always a year behind, because you gotta get all that data, and then the deadline's actually June, so, yeah, that'll all be on there. That gives all the parameters that gentleman's talking about, whether it's hardness and what you're dealing with. So, I mean, all the information's there, and if you feel like it isn't, by all means, call. If you have a problem, call. I mean, you gotta call the office, and we'll send someone out right away. You know, changing the filters, if it's something that's on an older line, you know, maybe we could do that. If it's something that's on a newer line, yeah, they're working. I mean, I will say, you know, a month, yeah, I think that's pretty premature. You know, if it is a month, actually, that you're changing that out, that's pretty, I would expect it, you know, a couple months maybe. You know, when you're looking at a filter, I can see those are saturated all the way to the middle, and that's what you wanna be looking at. You wanna be looking at a filter down on top of it and not just on the side of it, because it's sucking that water in. But those seem pretty saturated, and I'm gonna say that they're probably manganese. I drink the water here every day. Every day. I'm not a hypocrite. I just don't believe it. No matter what department I've operated, I've always done that. I can tell you.
You don't see the bathtub when your daughter gets out of it.
No, I mean, but I do see our toilet up at you know, up at, excuse me, Washington Street.
I've been told we have a bad well.
No, when you have those higher iron and manganese levels, you're gonna get those rings. You're gonna get that staining. Especially if you leave a toilet for a long time and you're not turning that water over. It's hard water. It's no different than somebody that has a private well. So that's something that you really need to understand, is it's groundwater. And if it was surface water, you wouldn't have that, but there are other things you have to deal with. So, you know, I'm sure this gentleman over here can talk about Georgetown water, you know, and what that's like. And,
High rates of cancer in Georgetown as well.
yeah, you know, I honestly can't speak to the cancer.
I can, I just lost my daughter-in-law.
I'm sorry.
I can speak very well to it.
I don't have that information. I'm not saying it to be disrespectful, I'm just saying, I don't,
You're not being disrespectful.
you know, I just don't have that information. As far as what EPA sets, again, those are my rules that I have to live by, that they govern.
But like what Dick's saying is the health department in town is not involved.
The health department is not involved because they don't run the water and sewer
Yeah,
department.
but when I originally started asking, they're saying the health department has nothing to do with the
They don't.
water department. That makes no sense to me.
So
Why?
I see that as a team effort.
Well, I shouldn't say if they don't have anything to do with it.
Everybody's walking in the other direction.
No, I mean, you gotta remember, they're not licensed to do my job, and I'm not licensed to do theirs. So, there's a reason why they set it up that way. We do communicate. The CCR report goes to them, so they have that data. But they don't run the public water system here. That's just the way it's set up. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have input. Of course they do. But as far as how we run, that's just not the case.
It'd be nice to see them give a report at town meeting. We have a number of committees that give reports. Wouldn't it be nice to know that cancer is down in Groveland, or is it going up, and why?
Well, I mean, that's,
That's a health department kind of.
absolutely. I mean, and that's what happened in Flint, Michigan. It's exactly what happened in Flint. When Legionnaire's disease decided to elevate in Flint, that's when it all started. Now, that's a whole different can of worms, but I'm just, that's where it is. But as far as what we do, I mean, I have pure confidence, and I'm not just biased here. I mean, I take my job very seriously. It is the health of the people here in town, so. But I have rules that I live by that are dictated to me. And I try to do the best that I can with, with what we have, and I think we do a really good job with it. I do think Groveland has a really good source, and I think that there's really good water here. That's just my personal opinion. It's all from just being in a couple other different communities.
I don't know how you can say that when I'm sitting here with a filter that looks like it's been filtering motor oil.
But
This literally looks like it's been filtering motor oil. You wouldn't even touch it.
well, because I know I'm gonna get manganese all over me. I know what it is.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
But the
I gotta
levels,
keep
but the
my
levels, the levels
How
are,
can you say that we have a great water source when I'm sitting here? I change filters. Have you ever seen filters like this before, Rick?
No, not that bad. You should have seen mine. Make Billy go puke. All 4 filters.
That-
The water is like brown before you even bathe.
it's, I'd have to look at it all. So, where's the filter?
Where do we start?
I'd be happy to come out and take a look at it.
Yeah, it'd be
Send the
if you
guys
call the water department, we'll come down and investigate. There's been a couple that we've resolved. If there's issues, we'll certainly take a
We've
look
done
at it.
flushing, we've also done, education. Is it hot water? Are you flushing the tanks? Is that sediment out? Is everything that's in the tub, is that coming out of hot water? Because you're certainly gonna get that sediment that's gonna settle in the tank. And you're a licensed plumber, there's a drain on the bottom of that, you throw a hose on it and you drain it out.
This is the water main coming.
I understand, and that's why you have the sediment in your tank. And it's the manganese levels iron and manganese levels that are in the groundwater. It's a characteristic of the water. It's no different in Byfield. It's no different in Georgetown. It is what it is. You may not like to hear that, but that's the characteristic of the water.
That's not what I'm seeing in these other filters that I'm changing.
Where are you changing them?
All around,
Where?
all around.
What's all around? That's very general.
Exactly.
Okay,
I
if,
work in Marblehead, I work in Salem, I work in Beverly,
All surface water,
all surface water.
surface water plants.
yeah, Wenham
They're
Lake,
filtered.
Wenham Lake.
So they go through a whole filtration process. You typically won't see that in Amesbury, and you typically won't see that in, over in Haverhill, but you typically won't see your water rates the way they are right here. Because they're paying for a treatment plant, a full staffed treatment plant. That's the difference between surface water and groundwater. Groundwater is naturally filtering the water as it goes through the gravel. But you're still gonna get iron and manganese because they're naturally occurring minerals. Where in a surface water treatment plant, all of that, well, more than likely, you're not gonna find a lot of that because you're gonna have more organics in the water, 'cause it's coming from the surface, it's coming from a lake, or a pond, or a river. So it's
geese
just a
are
totally
laying it.
different characteristic. I've been doing this for 27 years. I operated Havel for 15. I've been other surrounding communities.
I'd say
Byfield's a lot worse. And on a lot of these small communities now, because they've changed some of the rules and regulations, they're looking at putting in filtration. Go to Raleigh. They got the highest water rates around. You'd fall over.
They have I have a friend there who's a scientist, and he's on the water commission, and their water is putrid. They have to do that.
Absolutely.
That's right.
You're lucky you don't have to. You're extremely lucky. That's why I tell you, you got a great source. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, that's,
Like I
it's,
said, you're not bathing your kids in it.
I understand.
My daughter, she fills the bathtub up and she comes in and tells me I'm not.
Well, the best thing for us is just to go out and try to help you and troubleshoot that and figure out, is that more of the source that's coming in, as you can see there, or is it more of a practice of flushing out, because you're gonna have some of that sediment in there. You're not gonna take it all out. You might wanna put in a water softener. That's another option to look at. Some of the customers have it, some of them don't. It all depends on the area that you're living in and what your threshold is. Obviously, I don't want your daughter to be bathing in something that she doesn't feel comfortable in. Why would I want that? Absolutely not. So the best thing I can do is public education. These are the things you need to do. You need to try to flush that system out. And if you do all those things and that helps, great. If it doesn't, then we'll look at something else.
But we will respond to it. You've got to let us know. Everyone out there, you can't have a problem, sit and let it fester, and then come in and say to us, why you haven't got the best water. You're here right now this evening, and I'm talking through the lady in front here, and you're saying, this is a problem, and you're showing us a black filter, okay? We don't know what's going on. Tom could go and he could look at something and say, oh, what about this, okay? We've had situations all over town, and I'll tell you, they'll respond, okay? They will come, they will look at it, they'll study it, they'll help you out with whatever they can help you out. We're very transparent. We're not trying to hide anything from anyone. I want to make that clear. We are fully upfront. We have a meeting every single month, sometimes 2 or 3, okay? And my colleagues and I are here. We're at the meetings. You just have to call Pat and get put on the agenda, and you can come and talk with us, okay? And we'll answer your questions. If there's no more, one question I have, Pat, is this rate chart going to be on the website? Could it be put on the
Sure.
website?
Absolutely.
We'll put it on the website. For those here now, I have copies that you can have right now if you'd like to have one. I would like to thank you all for coming.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last increase? Water rate increase?
Last,
2 years
Last
ago.
year.
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
yeah.
Is that like every 2 years? Is that the history of it, like every couple?
This one here is more purposeful than some of the other ones. Some of them were because of energy and increase. This one here is strictly for a water main upgrade from Washington Street to School Street. So it's really what it is. There is gonna be this project, and then possibly another water tank, and certainly more water mains that need to be replaced that are, 40, 50 years old. That,
It was a capital study done for 5 years down the line. We've got the whole thing. We can show it to you.
Yeah.
There's no hidden secrets. We'll let you know what it is. And we had an engineer draw it. Everything's all done. And
And
the
if you
cost
don't go
and-
online, just come in and we can give you copies of stuff. Some
Yeah.
people
Yeah, we have
don't
it in the
like going
office.
Yeah.
online.
And the billing starts in October, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're gonna start
Yeah.
reading in the middle of June, so that's when your rates, it will reflect in October. That's why
On
we
your
had
fir-
a
That's when
hearing
your
to let
first
you
bill
know
will get with
that
the new rates.
the rates are going into effect, in the middle of June.
Thank you for listening, but I'm gonna keep my reverse osmosis. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Good,
Dick.
Dick.
Thank you.
If there's no further question,
Oh, I got something to say.
yes, Charlie.
Georgetown, right? They told us when you turn on the hot water, it smells like rotten eggs.
Yeah.
So that's the magnesium. Let it run before you take a shower or anything. All right? Otherwise, you're gonna smell like rotten eggs.
I will not comment about someone else's water system. Okay? Do I have a motion from my colleagues as to rate increase?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to increase the water rates by 15% and sewer by 2.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very, very much for attending, and please, I want to hear from Tom that you've been in to talk to him, okay, please? We'll take care of it.
We
Okay,
don't
thank
bite.
you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adjourn.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Janet, do you want one of
No,
these?
I can look it up online.
There you go, ma'am.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.